Hello friends, so here we are back with another informative video on our channel Mysterious History. Please subscribe our channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
Oh, hello guys, welcome. So we are trying to define the term causation in this chapter. I'll, I will be taking you through all the details of it as to how we can find an exact cause of a particular event, as well as what does causality exactly means, right? So we'll be going through all of it. Plus we will also talk about causation in terms of social science, as well as causation in terms of history, right? So because these two differ to a great extent, I'm going to explain all of it to you in this video, so just hang on, right? So in the introductory part, that's always right now, it just says a few things. You would all wonder why does it all occur, why do famines occur, and this why term we define in terms of a cause, right? So when we ask why do famines occur, we are asking the cause of famine, right? So going ahead, it's all waste. You don't need to study that. I'll just I'll just be taking you to the gist of everything basically, right? So you do not worry about that. I will, so we'll not be studying the whole history because then that becomes a never-ending subject. I will be taking the highlighted points over here, and then I'll explain it to you further, right? So what is the definition of causality? What is exactly a cause? Basically, when we are trying to define cause, we are defining the actual reason behind something happening, right? So whenever an event happens, I'll take the example of a tiger. So Ram, and he saw a tiger. He aimed at tiger, he shot the tiger with a bullet, and tiger died. So whenever an event happened, there's an effect produced, right? So we are trying, the effect over here in this particular scenario is tiger's death. What caused tiger's death? So tiger's death was caused by the bullet, right? If Ram would not have fired the bullet, tiger would not have died. And in this scenario, bullet firing was the cause of tiger's death. Here, example being given, I'll just read it out to you. Listen carefully. The cause, in other words, is a condition that is both necessary and sufficient for bringing about the given event E. It is said to be necessary because its absence implies that the absence of the effect E, and it's sufficient because its presence yields the given result E, right? So it basically means if the bullet was not fired, then the tiger would not have died, right? So this particular factor, this particular condition should be necessary, right? This particular condition was very much necessary in this scenario for tiger's death. And if this particular event did not happen, say Ram did not fire a bullet, or Ram did not aim at tiger and did not fire a bullet at all, basically that tiger would never have died, right? So it was necessary for Ram to fire a bullet, and basically then it has to hit the tiger, and then it died basically, right? So that's what we understand in these terms basically, right? Just go ahead and explain all of the other things in the video. Taken the example of vitamin A in this, right? Before that, I need to explain you the exact definition of cause. Whenever an event happens, there's always an effect E, and we are going to denote this effect with a capital E in the whole paragraph, in this whole chapter, right? So remember that E is going to be effect, right? So whenever an event happens, the cause should be in sufficient amount and necessary and sufficient to produce a cause. So that's what the definition of cause is. Now going to the example of it. So see, we're taking the example of vitamin A, right? So you all would have known that if vitamin A is deficient in someone, so if vitamin A is not sufficient enough in someone, that might cause night blindness, right? So in order to understand that vitamin A's deficiency has caused the actual night blindness, we got to study further. We got to take all those cases where a night blindness has occurred, and we try to find out whether vitamin A is absent in all of them, right? If it is absent in all of them, and then that might be the reason, but then we are not totally sure. So then we take all healthy people who do not have night blindness, and then we check in them whether vitamin A is present or if vitamin A is absent, right? If vitamin A is present in all of them, then vitamin A for sure is the reason behind night blindness. So absence of vitamin A has for sure caused night blindness, otherwise it would not. So we prove cause by taking two things together, right? Now going ahead further down, 3 points need to be emphasized here. They've taken 3 points, not very important, but I'll just still read it to you. The relationship of necessity is significantly different from that of sufficiency, right? So it basically says that sufficiency and necessity are two different things. Vitamin A's deficiency might not cause a night blindness to occur. Why? Because the vitamin A has to be deficient in a sufficient amount. You got that? I'm so sorry. Yeah. So it has to be absent in a sufficient amount to cause night blindness, right? So that thing. The second is cause is considered to be a condition that is both necessary and sufficient. I've already given you the example of it. That is the definition of cause as well. I don't need to explain it further to you guys. Third, constant conjecture is not an adequate indicator of a causal relationship. See, many times it happens that two particular incidents are taken, and basically when Ram is going to jungle, and then he shot tiger basically. So we take the first event to be the cause of the second event, right? And it happened in the earlier example as well, that he shot a gun at tiger, and that was the cause of it, right? We considered that a cause of it because event A was what? Event A was shooting the tiger, and then event 2 was what? Tiger getting hit by the bullet, and then he died. So before that, what incident exactly occurred? It was Ram firing a bullet at tiger. So that was the reason, right? So it is not true in all the cases though, because see, they have taken an example in the later para, and they have tried to show you guys that a person might have liver failure, and he's been put on whatever machine, right? And then what happens is he also has cardiac arrest at the same time. But then we cannot say that patient's death was cardiac arrest exactly. It could be some other reason. It could be liver failure as well, right? It both happened at the same time, so we cannot conclude that one was the reason of the other, right? So the patient might have died of something else. Cardiac arrest or liver failure might not exactly be the reason. However, they occurred one by one, but he might have survived the two of them. But then there could be a third event, or there could be a previous event, like he might have too much fat in his veins, and that could have caused something else, right? So the constant conjecture basically, two events happening at the same time, the first one cannot be the reason of the second one, right? That's what we understand. Normally we do take the first event to be the cause of the second event, but then that's not true all the time. That cannot be concluded, so we'll have to go through all the steps to basically define the cause, right? This one is finished. I've explained you the gist of this paragraph. I don't need to explain it further to you guys, right? Now we come down to the second para, that is social science and causation. So when we are going in social science, so this guy who has explained all of this to you, he's put a theory for all you guys who are studying social science. He said that his name basically is John Stuart Mill. He's given two methods, and both of these two methods should be taken together to explain a cause, right? In this particular paragraph, we are trying to devise ways by which we can find the actual cause of a particular event, right? Whenever an effect E occurs, there should always be a cause of it. Whenever a famine occurs, there should be a cause of it. What could be the actual cause of famine? What do you understand by it? So whether it was forest fire or whether it's something else, there could be multiple reasons, but we will have to find out one particular reason which was necessary and without which it would not have happened, right? So we're just trying to define that. Now, John Stuart Mill has put the theory of method of agreement and a method of disagreement or difference, right? In which he says that he takes a circumstance or a condition where an event E has occurred, and it has produced an effect E, right? So we take all those incidences. I'll take the example of mob lynching in this particular scenario. Say mob lynching has occurred in Delhi as well as UP as well as in Tamil Nadu. So what we generally do is to in the method of agreement, we take all these three scenarios and then we make an inventory of all the causes of it. Basically, what could be the cause of all of it, right? So we can have communal violence, we can have something else, say jealousy towards it, right? First, second, third, say rumors. There could be rumors about the two couple, and that's why they lynched them. So we have A, B, and C as the reason. We have made an inventory out of it. But then we want to find out the actual cause of it, so we can predict in future that if a situation like this occurs, this mob lynching might repeat itself, right? So that's what we are trying to do. So in social science, we can define cause and we can predict in future that if the same situation occurs, then the same effect might be produced, right? So yeah, that's what it is. So in the method of agreement, as I said, we take all the incidences and then we make an inventory of all those causes, that all the reasons that might be responsible for mob lynching. Now we take the second condition, which is the method of difference. Method of, wait a minute, let me read it out. A method of disagreement or difference. I was correct. So method of disagreement, basically, what does it say? The method of disagreement says that now you got to take all those normal cases where an effect E did not happen. So we take the events where there was a communal violence, but then the mob lynching did not happen, right? So we can for sure say that mob lynching's cause is not communal violence, because we see two different incidences where there was a communal violence and mob lynching did occur, but then there was another scenario where mob lynching was there. Mob lynching was not there, but communal violence was still present. Same thing for rumor. Example B, rumors. So there were rumors in several other parts where mob lynching did not occur, but then in the case of mob lynching it did occur. We cannot we'll pick that out as well. We'll take that out, right? So now we'll take the third example, which is like whatever it is, basically. Say jealousy. So jealousy was not present in all the other cases, in all the other incidents, but in the case of this, it was present. So we can conclude that jealousy was the reason behind mob lynching in this particular scenario. That's how we do in social science. We try to define the cause by taking the two methods together. It doesn't happen that you just take the method of agreement and then define the cause of it, because then there could be multiple causes. We have to extract one particular cause out of all the inventory that you've made, right? So in order to do that, you've got to apply both of the methods together. I've already given you the example here. I don't need to read out all the other examples. If you want, you can read that out. I'll provide you a link in the description box and you can do that. Now going further ahead with it. Now for historians, it might differ, because for historians, prediction is not generally a thing. What we say here is, what we mean by this is, when an incident has happened in past, we cannot repeat that in future. Not only because we cannot repeat it, because obviously the same-minded people will be absent to us. Plus, we do not want to repeat it, because if a world war has occurred in past, we cannot just do that in a laboratory. We cannot find the same mentality people over there. Plus we do not want to do that either, because then that will be like people making harm to each other. So we do not wish to do that either. So what we do in history is to define the cause of a particular incident by generally studying it further and further, right? So historians try to so basically for history it might differ to a certain extent, because we cannot predict future with it. Whatever cause there might be behind Akbar becoming a king, that might not solely be the same case in future. If the same guy Akbar is reborn, then the same causes, because that has already happened in past, and the same things, because see, the gist of it is, in history you cannot predict future with the causes that you've given in past, right? There were various factors responsible because of it, and the same thing cannot repeat itself in future. But we can define the term cause by giving you much details about the particular incident. So we can define the term why, the term cause, but then we cannot say that the same thing will happen in future. And if the same thing happens in future, it will again produce the same effect again, right? Historians and causation, right? Going to read it out to you. So historians have basically given a different theory, so to explain cause in their terms, right? So what historians have done is to give you this one theory where it says a condition that is necessary under the circumstances, right? So a condition which is sufficient enough to cause that particular effect, but then the same might not repeat itself in future, right? We call it INUS method, right? INUS method. Incident necessary under circumstance. So they have taken an example here to explain it to you. They've taken an example that a mob is going to burn a particular building, and basically before them reaching the building, lightning struck and it basically burned the building down. But if they were not going to do it, if the effect was produced, but then if lightning would not have caused it, then the angry mob for sure would have done that anyway, right? So that's what we are trying to do. For historians, it will always be a unique and most often overdetermined incident. So in this particular case, an effect E has to occur. That is, the burning of the building has to occur in any case scenario. Even if mobs would not have done that, then this other lightning would have done that. If lightning wouldn't have done that, mob would have done that. So we cannot say that one particular is a cause of it. So in historians' term, what they try to do is to give you a lot many details, and basically by that they are trying to define the term cause, right? So So here they are trying to define the term INUS, which is like what? Cause is considered to be condition that is insufficient but necessary, moment of a complex of condition that is unnecessary but sufficient for producing the given event E. Now when we talk about history, there could not only be one condition that is causing an effect E, but then there could be multiple conditions where which would have caused an effect E to occur. But then out of all those, there is one particular incident which is much needed. Taking an example of Gandhi here, Gandhi had started Quit India movement, but then there were various reasons behind it why Quit India movement worked. Because but then as we see that Gandhi's absence would have resulted in not having that Quit India movement at all. But why was it successful? Because mobs were angry as well. Peasants were not happy at that point of time. So these factors cannot be neglected. However, Gandhi was the supreme being at that point of time, and we are taking that as an INS condition. Without Gandhi being there, peasants would not have a leader and they would not go for it. So Gandhi's presence was the INS condition, because of which the Quit India movement worked, and it did start to begin with. So now some people might argue that when historians are trying to define a particular term cause, they are just telling you a story and not exactly defining you the exact cause of it, because they were not able to come to a particular incident which could be called as a cause. They are giving you multiple situations, and all of it could contain the incident to happen, right? All of it could be responsible for the incident to happen, right? That is why we think that be responsible for the incident to happen, right? That is why we think that be responsible for the incident to happen, right? That is why we think that. Now J.L. Aronson has supposedly given an example to say that it is kinda true, and why the same thing cannot happen as social science, right? Why the cause cannot be explained as the same thing as social science? Because, see, I'll just give you the example as J.L. Says that when a gun is shot with a force field at a screen E, and it hits a point P on the screen, right? So when it hits a point P on the screen, we can explain the vector terms, we can explain the force by which it went and strike the particular point P, what was the angle it hit on. We can just literally describe all the details of it. And that is very much close to the definition why it did hit the point P. But then the same thing has to occur again in future. That is very uncertain, because then air could still act as a resistance and air's movement might differ in future. So if the same angle is taken, same everything is taken, then still then it's not predictable that the bullet will hit at the same point P again in the future, because there are various many things that wouldn't be same in future again, right? And that is the example is taken to define that. There are various many things that wouldn't be same. So basically that's what it says when we are trying to define the term cause. Historical explanations are just the same. They do not define the term prediction, but then they can define as to why it happened and do not ever predict. And that is what the gist of the chapter. And the rest of it is a waste. I don't think you should read all of that, because that's not of any of your use. Anyway, the video has gone too far. It's almost of 15 to 20 minutes. So I'll try to shorten it out as much for you. Let's see. That's it, guys. Thank you for being with us.